What Trump is doing in Los Angeles is absolutely manufacturing a crisis so that he can justify the escalation of his authoritarian tactics. It's also a classic authoritarian move: bullying, intimidating, threatening, escalating, crashing out to try to get the American people to panic and obey in advance. Strong, capable, popular, powerful leaders do not actually have to try to turn the military on their own citizens. Trump is really weak right now. He's losing all over the place economically, in the courts, in the court of public opinion. His big, beautiful budget bill is profoundly unpopular with the American people. And I want to talk about that later today because there's some polling out that says it's even more unpopular than we previously thought. And speaking of that, it's important to understand that what is happening in LA is not merely about Trump cracking down so that he can justify stripping away our rights. It also is meant to be a distraction from the budget bill. He wants you to put your focus on what's happening in Los Angeles and forget about how pissed off you are at that budget bill. You know, the bill that's going to strip healthcare from more than 10 million Americans, the bill that is scheduled to cut Medicaid, Medicare, SNAP, programs that are actually overwhelmingly popular with the American people, add trillions and trillions of dollars to the debt. All of that is being done so that a few obscenely rich men up here can get a giant tax break. This bill is disastrously unpopular with Americans. Republicans are freaking out about how much their constituents are pissed off over it. And Trump is really unhappy because he thought he was going to cram this down the throat of the American people. This is a key piece of legislation when it comes to him, pushing forward his authoritarian agenda. The more he can destabilize America, the more he can create crises, the more he can sweep in and strip away our rights, clamp down on control and say, I'm here, I will fix it. I'm going to just take over. I'm going to take and take and take. And y'all are going to be too weak, too hungry. You're going to be denied access to healthcare. You're going to be struggling so much harder. You won't be able to resist, right? Everything in that bill is about enriching the billionaires, consolidating Trump's power, inflicting suffering on the American people, and furthering his authoritarian agenda. So no shit, that bill is going to be incredibly unpopular with the American people. And he wants you to forget about that. He wants to try and get that pushed through. Republicans in the Senate want to try and get that pushed through. There's a reason Mike Johnson is, supporting what Trump is doing in California right now. I mean, there's lots of reasons. He's a Christo-fascist. He'll do whatever Trump wants. He's a profoundly evil man, but also because he too knows that none of y'all like what is in the budget bill. He wants you to be distracted from it and focus on LA. He wants you to be panicking about martial law, which is not a thing that is able to be implemented, much less maintained in the United States. So that you just kind of let them sneak that bill on through. They want you to stop giving them all of the negative feedback. They want you to take the pressure off of that bill. And they're using what's happening in LA to do that, to distract you. And I'm so proud. My Senator Jeff Merkley was on MSNBC last night talking about precisely this. Jeff has been showing up consistently for Oregonians, for the American people, for the rule of law. I know that he's kind of a soft-spoken guy, but he's holding the line. So let me show you what he said last night, because he's absolutely spot on.
There's reporting, though, today in Axios that it is the belief of the Trump administration that what you're watching out of LA is actually helping him consolidate Republican support behind this bill. Has that been your sense, talking to your Republican colleagues, that they are all suddenly on board with this bill?
Well, I don't think suddenly on board with the bill, but I think what they are feeling is that this is distracting their constituents from how bad this bill is. And I think that's part of what Trump is up to. I was watching what was going on in LA and thinking about Portland during the first Trump administration, my home state of Oregon. And what Trump did then is he sent out folks who had no insignia at all, and they had unmarked vans, and they were grabbing people off the street at the protests and throwing them into these unmarked vans. As soon as you have an overreach by the federal government, it produces counter demonstrations. It just pours fuel on the fire. And that's what Trump's trying to do here. Don't look at how much I'm ripping off ordinary families to help billionaires. Look at the fact that I'm sending troops out to California. Pay attention to that.
Yes, Jeff is absolutely correct here. Like, everything he said, completely correct. We need to understand that what Trump is doing is meant to be a distraction. And right now is the time to keep the pressure on about the budget bill. Continue to call and email all of your Republican electeds. Let them know that you have not forgotten that they are willing to raise the debt ceiling, trillions and trillions of dollars, take away healthcare from millions of Americans, take food aid away from America's poorest children, all to give the billionaires a big fat tax break. You do not forget now, and you will not forget in the midterms that they supported that. Trump is trying all kinds of chaotic things at once, right? He is trying to enact cruelty in multiple different ways all at the same time. That is part of his shock and awe, shock doctrine strategy here. And we have got to make sure that we can also focus on more than one thing. We've got to make sure that we also have our head in the game and we are able to keep tabs on multiple things at once and employ multiple strategies in multiple different areas at once. So, keep the focus on LA. Plan for Saturday, nonviolent protests in your city. We need to be showing up to protect our neighbors from ICE, but also we can't forget about this budget bill. We have to keep the pressure on there at the same time that we are tending to these other things. We get to be masters of multitasking starting right now.